Hey guys, today I'm reacting to Geography Now, Greece. Should be pretty interesting, all things considered. I mean, Greece has a long history. It's a very fascinating country. I mean, of course, they speak Greek. I think in Greek, the country's called like Hellas. And the Greek people are like the Hellenes. Of course, this is probably not accurate, but I think so, from what I've heard. What else? Of course, this area used to be the Eastern Roman Empire, commonly also called the Byzantine Empire. So that's pretty interesting. Yeah, they used to own Constantinople, modern day Istanbul. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of conflicts going on with Turkey, of course, but let's get to the video.
You're the one that I want. You're the one that I want. Yeah.
Is this a joke about oil? You know, also called grease.
You're the one that I want. You get my reference, right? You get it. I'm so clever, right? Do you get my reference?
It's time to learn geography.
Now! Hey everybody, I'm your host Barbie. Greece is sometimes seen as like the cradle and birthplace of European civilization and thought.
Oh yeah, that is a common sentiment I've heard. Just because a lot of ideas and thoughts came from there. Yeah.
So much of everything you see today has some kind of correlation to Greece. Pretty heavy for a relatively small country in the Balkans, eh? Yeah.
Well, I mean, they were they were part of the Roman Empire, and they were, for all intents and purposes, the Roman Empire. I mean, the Eastern Roman Empire always spoke Greek as its lingua franca, as its main language, so, I mean, they were the Roman Empire and one of the strongest empires, civilizations for a long time, up until like 1453 when it fell. Sorry for that little tangent. Let's get back to the video.
Let's find out how it all went down. So let's just jump into it. Greece is located
I always liked Greece's flag as well.
down. So let's just jump
I think that's a cool flag.
into it. Greece is located in the southernmost part of the Balkan Peninsula that stretches into the Ionian, Mediterranean, and Aegean Seas, bordered by 4 countries in the north and east. The country is divided into 13 regions, 1 autonomous state that we'll talk about later, and the capital Athens, one of the oldest capitals in the world where nearly 40% of the entire population lives. Now, despite the administrative makeup, Greece is
40%,
divided into
wow.
9 geographic regions: Thrace, Macedonia,
I've heard that Greece does have a shrinking population as well.
not to be confused with this place
Yeah,
we already talked about, Thessaly, Epirus, Central Greece, the
pretty much that's just kind of a copycat. Just whatever.
Ionian Islands, the Aegean Islands, and Crete. As you can probably tell from its makeup, Greece is one of, if not probably the most
I think Greece has the largest merchant marines. Oh, maybe that's Japan. Not sure.
seafaring marine-emphasized countries in the world. I mean, they do have the world's largest merchant marine fleet
Okay.
after Japan. And at any given
Oh, after Japan. Gotcha. Understood.
point in Greece, you are no more than 85 miles or 137 kilometers from the sea. Greece has over 2,000 islands, only about 220 of which are inhabited, and about 4,000 extra islets, keys, and sea rocks. Even the ones that are like right off the coast of Turkey. In fact, the only 2 significant islands belonging to Turkey in the Aegean are Imbros, or Kanachale, and Tenedos, or Volsjada. Now, keep in mind, the Peloponnesian Peninsula is not an island, it's actually just barely connected by the Corinthian Isthmus in the city of Corinth, which has a huge canal going through it. After independence from the Ottoman times, Greece was very intent on making sure they kept everything in the Aegean. This has historically led to some controversy from Turkey in regards to things like the delimitation of territorial waters, airspace, the executive economic zone, and the militarization of some of the islands. Nonetheless, they've been able to work stuff out, kind of, but some things are still left in a gray zone, with the only land dispute they have over these 2 small scraps of land, the Imia or Kardak Island. Finally, let's talk about the one autonomous state. See this little guy right here, the 3rd finger on the weird monster claw looking peninsula? Well, that peninsula is called Halkidiki, and the 3rd finger is Mount Athos. With a population of only about 2,000, Mount Athos, or Holy Mountain, is interesting because it's an isolated monastic state completely run by monks and priests.
That's pretty interesting.
Getting in is a little tough. The number of daily visitors is restricted, you have to have a special permit, and you have to be a dude. No women allowed. Although historically some women have either accidentally or intentionally got in, including this former Greek beauty pageant winner. She dressed up as a man and snuck in. The three
Damn. Very convincing, man.
largest cities are, of course, Athens, the capital, Thessaloniki, and Patras. However, the three largest and busiest airports are Athens, Heraklion on Crete, and then Thessaloniki coming in at third. Speaking of Crete, each inhabited island in Greece kind of has its own charm. Of course, there are too many things to list, but a few to consider might be things like Corfu, being the most family-friendly island. Delos is known for being the legendary birthplace of Apollo. Skyros and Hydra are kind of like the quiet islands where more people use mules than cars. Rhodes
Oh,
once held
damn.
the Colossus, one of
Oh, Rhodes. Ah, man. I've always heard about the Colossus of Rhodes.
the seven wonders of the ancient world. Cardia
Yeah. Damn. Would be amazing. So the Colossus of Rhodes doesn't really exist anymore, right? I'm pretty sure. Let's just check though. Yeah, okay, it doesn't really exist now. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Okay. So it's in ruins, I'm guessing. Wait, was it rebuilt? Was built as dedication of the Greeks. The statue collapsed during an earthquake, but the ruins continue to attract visitors for more than 800 years. Interesting. Okay.
once tried to become its own country at one point in time. Naxos and Paros are
Let me go back. Let me see what that was.
wonders of the ancient world. Cardia once tried to become its own country at one point in
Oh, interesting.
time. Naxos and Paros are known for being the windy islands, great for sailing and water sports. Santorini with its
Oh man, that looks beautiful.
ridiculously picturesque cliffside white marble villas, and Patmos, the incredibly significant religious site in which Jesus' disciple John was exiled and wrote the book of Revelation. Speaking of which, Greece has more archaeological sites per capita than any other country in the world, only ranks behind a few other countries like Turkey and Mexico in terms of overall sites. Now, we all know Greece
I
is
see.
a tourist hotspot. Like France, more tourists than the entire population of Greece visit Greece every single year. Now, we all know about the Acropolis and the Parthenon, but other cool sites that stick out include the Meteora Pillar Cliff Monasteries, the Necromantion of Ephyra, the Oracle of Delphi, St. Theodora's Chapel with 17 oak trees sprouting with no visible evidence of roots, the sculpted face on the shore of Nisi, the Chios former leper colony buildings, the Palace of the Grand Master of the Knights of Rhodes, and of course
Oh,
hundreds
cool.
and hundreds of other sites. There are too many to list, and if you know of any, please write them down in the comments below and share. In the meantime, we gotta get down to the foundations of the country, the land. Now, there's an old Greek saying, when God made the world, he took the leftover rocks, threw them behind his shoulder, and that's how Greece was made. I kind of paraphrase that a little bit, don't quote me on it.
Too late. It's a quote now.
Now, Greece is funny because land-wise, they don't exactly score high on the Soil Performance Index, and overland transportation has always been an issue. But when you pretty much dominate the maritime trading sector, you can kind of turn a semi-arid rock zone into a flourishing agrarian hub. And wait till we get to the Israel episode. They've done quite an interesting
I can't
job.
believe you spend so much money on visiting people. On the West Bank, I don't care what the West Bank. Talk to me. Talk about the
First of all, the country's about 80% mountain.
Yeah, I see. I mean, that's pretty interesting. I'd imagine they have quite a good aqua farming culture. I guess aquaculture sector, maybe similar to Japan. Would make sense for them to grow seaweed. I'm thinking a lot of it, and kelp. What else? I guess farm more fish and such.
Mountainous on both the mainland Balkan region and the islands. Two main mountain chains form along the Balkan mainland, the Pindus in the west and the Rhodopes in the northeast, Macedonia and Thrace regions. Right around the area where Thessaly meets Macedonia, you find Mount Olympus, the tallest mountain in Greece, notable for being the legendary home of the ancient Greek gods. Now, with the exception of small boats and canoes, almost all the rivers in Greece are non-navigable as they are too shallow. Nonetheless, the largest river, Aliakmonos, flows through the Pindus range and eventually empties into the Thermaic Gulf right by the Monster Claw. Also, Trichonida, the largest lake, can be found in the south-central Greek region. Beautiful, right? Well, it comes at a cost. Greece is one of the most seismically active countries in the world as it lies on two major tectonic plate zones, the North Anatolian Fault and the Hellenic Trench. This means that although frequent, earthquakes in Greece are relatively mild because
And that seems to be why the Colossus of Rhodes collapsed. Earthquakes.
because they usually have epicenters that are in the sea, or, Turkey just kind of takes the biggest hit. Greece gets about 250 days of pure sunshine a year. 7% of the world's marble mines are found in Greece, and they're also
Damn.
the third largest olive oil producer. Speaking of which, if you've never had Greek food, you are not allowed to die until you do. Popular dishes like moussaka, spanakopita, the classic Greek salad, pita
delicious.
with gyros, the real kind, not that cheap sleazy stuff down on 14th Street in which half of the meat is made of cornmeal. Nonetheless, agriculture only
I do like gyros, yeah.
makes up about 4% of their economic output. Most of the revenue at over 80% comes from tourism and service jobs. Otherwise, some notable spots in nature would be
Would be amazing to go to Greece and try out the food. I love good food.
places like the Vikos Gorge, the Sami Cave in Cephalonia,
Oh, wow.
the
Beautiful.
Siri Culture Blue-Eyed Spring, volcanic rocks of Lemnos, Neda Waterfalls, Pozar Hot Springs, and so much more. In a nutshell,
Damn.
Greece is like a rocky, rugged, seafaring realm of merchant ships and olives. Could have said that like 3 minutes ago and skipped this whole segment. Well, on to the next. Winston Churchill once
But I think when Greece used to own more land and such, especially in Turkey, and then like the Levant, I'm pretty sure there were those areas were a lot more agricultural. Yeah, even just a bit north of Greece might be a bit better for agriculture. Because I know in Roman times, especially when the full Roman Empire was around, Greece and the Eastern Roman Empire was considered like one of the greatest agricultural sectors. I mean, I guess Egypt is probably even a bigger agricultural producer.
once said, Greeks don't fight like heroes. Heroes fight like Greeks.
Yeah, but Winston Churchill is not necessarily a good man to listen to. But that is a really cool quote though, especially because I think heroes is a Greek word. So
First of all, Greece has about 11 million people and has one of the highest aging populations in Europe. The vast majority of the country, at about 93%, are made up of ethnic Greeks, and the remaining 7% are mostly made up of other groups like Albanians, Gypsies, and Turks. They use the Type C and F plug outlets, they use the euro as their currency, although prior to the euro they used the drachma, which was the oldest consistently used currency in
damn, that is a cool ass symbol though. Frick. Damn, that's epic.
the world.
Maybe they should have kept the drachma though, because I'm pretty sure the euro kind of destabilized a lot of things. I mean, they could still be in the EU, but maybe they should not have switched to using the euro.
And they drive on the right side of the road. Now, pretty much anyone that has ever been to school at around age 12 will know how much Greek history has played a role in the Western world. The history is too long to explain in
Oh yeah, very much. I learned a lot of Greek history when I was younger, like in school and on my own as well. There's especially this one series taught me a lot of Greek mythology. Percy Jackson, yeah, good book series. Let me just show you if you haven't seen it. Yeah, this thing, they made a movie about it, but the books were much better. Yeah, it was definitely a fun series to read when I was younger. Probably one of my favorites, even still. It's really, really fun. It's all about Greek mythology and such. And the later books go on for a bit more like, I guess, Roman mythology and such. And the author, Rick Riordan, has wrote other books. I think he wrote a series about Egyptian mythology, Norse mythology. So, yeah, it's quite interesting. And it was a good way to get me into reading and history.
detail, but in the quickest way I can put this, Minoans, Mycenaeans, tribes and city-states fighting against Persians at Thermopylae, which is where Gerard Butler came in and did this.
I mean, no one's had to be one of the oldest civilizations.
Alexander the Great ushered in the Macedonian Empire.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, he was
What?
Greek.
No, he's
No,
not
yes, he
Greek.
I mean, he was more Greek than he was this modern-day North Macedonian thing. He was Greek, though, for all intents and purposes of a modern-day, language usage. He was Greek, pretty much. Of course, the concept of Greek didn't really exist back then, but he united all the Greek people, so if anything, he brought all the Greek peoples together.
Well, yes,
He
he
was
was.
never Greek.
How many times?
Then there was Classical Greece, Roman Greece, Byzantine Greece, Ottoman
Byzantine Greece, it's still Roman Greece.
Greece, and then finally a revolution led by
I mean, the Greeks were the Romans, arguably.
this guy in 1821 that started the modern version of Greece that we have today. Thanks to Alexander.
Yeah, I think that the nowadays Greece kind of harkens back to its pre-Roman times, the Hellenic period. Yeah. You know, with the ancient heroes and such. Although, really, I mean, there's a lot of Roman history and culture that the Greeks rely upon. And you could still... I think they should still teach in the schools. Although I'm unsure really what exactly they teach, though.
Alexander the Great, multiple regions on 3 continents experienced some form of Hellenization or the influence of Greek culture and language, and it went all the way down into the Byzantine era. This means at one point in time, even black Africans were speaking Greek, or at least the ancient Koine Greek language.
And there was even, I think, a version of like Buddhism that Greek influenced people's practiced. So, quite interesting.
It became so widespread that today almost every language in Europe invokes some kind of Greek origin in certain vocabulary. For example, in English, we have academy, telephone, grammar, and even geography. Not only that, but Greek has in one way or another been spoken for over 3,000 years, making it possibly the oldest consistently spoken and written language in the world. The Shang
Yeah, they would disagree.
Dynasty. Moving on.
Yeah, I mean, no, you can't really dismiss that. It's pretty epic. But Greek is still epic regardless of other languages and cultures.
We could go on and on talking about Greece's explosively fascinating ancient history enshrined with legend, myth, wars, warriors, trade, alliances, gods, beasts, Sparta.
It's a bit unfortunate what's happening in the modern day period with Greece's economy, actually. I mean, there is another Greek-speaking country, though. Cyprus. Doing a bit better, at least.
Sculpture, arts, leaders, philosophers, games, and interesting clothing options. Well, that'll take too long, and we gotta get through this episode. About 90% of the people in Greece adhere to Christianity, mostly in the Eastern Orthodox branch, just like many other countries in the Slavic world. If you've ever met a Greek person, you'll know that most of them definitely have a unique way of carrying themselves. Many of you Greek geograpeeps, or as I like to call you, Geogra Greeks, have told me that the movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding is actually kind of a pretty accurate representation of a typical Greek family upbringing. A little exaggerated, but nonetheless not far off. Big families with strong opinionated parents that you do not talk back to. There's always like a weird grandma mumbling something about the Turks, and one of the cousins is probably lighting something on fire as your brother's getting into a fight. But when grandma
maybe need a bit more discipline with that one cousin doing that, huh?
brings in the souvlaki and moussaka, everyone sits down and it's like a beautiful warm Norman Rockwell painting. At least that's the picture you Geogra Greeks have painted.
Greeks do seem a little bit chaotic, maybe. I mean, that might explain some of the financial crisis, lack of discipline, maybe. I'm not saying they don't have discipline, but like, that could be part of it. Maybe harken back to some of that Roman era discipline. Because the Romans were remarkably disciplined and such. And it seems like the Mediterranean has gotten a lot more lax and laid back and chaotic in the modern day compared to the Romans, who are very organized and specific. But that's really nothing. Greece is an epic country. I'd love to visit.
For me, I don't know, how was that? Was that in the ballpark? So anyway, in Greece, voting is required by law, as is conscription for men ages 16.
Interesting.
16, they get them while they're young. Up to 45 for a minimum of 9 months in service. Many people celebrate name day instead of their birthdays, in which they have a party on the day that pertains to the patron saint that they got their name from. Land is kind of limited, so to save space, many of the dead have their bodies exhumed after 5 years of being buried, and then the bones are washed in wine and then placed in an ossuary. Retirement homes are...
Damn. Maybe they should look more into eco burials. Just like, burying the dead in just the ground. Recycling, composting the dead. I don't know.
Incredibly rare.
Seems like it takes up a lot of space.
As most Greek grandparents typically end up living in their children's homes. Traditional music
sounds a bit like Asian households.
Found everywhere. You'll probably hear a lot of lutes, mandolins, and tambourines. Traditional dances are alive and well. They all usually incorporate some kind of group number with fast-paced movements and jumpy actions. Oh, and old guys smoking while playing backgammon. There's always old guys smoking and playing backgammon. Avoid the offensive mutsa hands. And just like we studied in the Estonia episode, Greece has an influx of women, like a lot. Somewhere around 60-65% of the population is female. This may or may not be the reason why Greece is also the world's most... How can I put this in a non-crude and vulgar phrasing for our children viewers? Greece is the most hey active country in the world. They even beat Brazil.
Damn.
Brazil. Interestingly enough, Greece also has the lowest divorce rate in the EU as well. Speaking of that, okay, let's...
Seems like because of religion.
Let's talk about some numbers. Brutal, sometimes image-tarnishing numbers. Let's just address the elephant in the room and get it over with, okay? Yes, Greece is in a little bit of an economic pickle right now. Basically, in a nutshell, back in 2001, Greece joined the EU. Long story short, they misrepresented their financial statements, they entered an IMF and ECB memorandum, and now the current generation is paying for all the fiscally irresponsible actions the previous one made with things like hiked taxes as well as salary and pension cuts.
You know, son, back in my day.
Yeah, back in your day, you ruined my day. Greece also has the highest unemployment rate in the EU as well.
Damn.
With a quarter of the population seeking jobs. Nonetheless, as depressing as that sounds, Greece actually, interestingly enough, has the lowest suicide rate in the EU. Now, before we move on, here are some rapid-fire notable contributions Greece
That's good.
has made to the world. Inventions like the
Seems like there's a lot of corruption though, from what I've heard, which is a bit unfortunate. You know, once you stamp out the corruption and get organized and disciplined, I could see Greece really improving out and taking off. And you know, they do rely on a lot of on tourism. Maybe they should diversify their industry. Want to tech and such might help.
The watermill, alarm clocks, lighthouses,
Oh,
the crane,
amazing.
construction levers, catapults, a crude steam engine, central heating,
Crude steam. I've heard of this. I think Archimedes invented this.
and technically the first robot concepts like citizenship, early
And I think that Archimedes even invented something like a computer. Let's see. Yeah, decoding the Antikythera mechanism, the first computer. Yeah, so Cran side obscured by corrosion, a trace of technology that appear utterly modern. Gears with neat triangular teeth, just like the insides of a clock, and the ring divided into degrees, like the protractor you use in school. Nothing like this has ever been discovered from antiquity. Nothing as sophisticated or even close appears again for more than 1,000 years. For decades after divers retrieved these scraps from the Antikythera wreck from 1900 to 1901, scholars were unable to make sense of them. X-ray imaging in the 1970s and 1990s revealed that the device must have replicated the motions of the heavens. Holding it in your hands, you could track the paths of the sun, moon, and planets with impressive accuracy. One investigator dubbed it an ancient Greek computer. Yeah, pretty damn epic. Some type of computer-like device. The past.
democracy, atom theory, various fields
Oh
of
yeah, democracy.
mathematics like
Atom
geometry,
theory. Damn.
advancements in disease study and medicine, philosophy, theater, dynamic sculpture and art, written history, trial by jury, and of course, the Olympics. Notable Greeks would probably include Eratosthenes, Leonidas, Pericles, Homer, Plutarch, Euripides, Pythagoras, Euclid, Archimedes, and Apollonius, Herodotus, and also
Don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it.
Alexander
No,
the Great.
no.
Yes,
Oh, obviously, yes, Alexander the Great. Yeah.
yes,
No,
I'm gonna
he
say
is
he
not
is
Greek.
Greek. Yes,
He
he
is-
is.
modern contemporaries
I don't even get how this the discussion. He's obviously Greek.
like Konstantinos Karatheodori, who taught Einstein, singer Nana
Damn,
Mouskouri, the Duke
interesting.
of Edinburgh, Prince Philip. Yep, he's actually half Greek. Tommy
Kinda, yeah, he's Greek. Pretty epic. Rest in peace.
Lee, Yanni, soccer players, Georgios Samaras, Georgios Karayunas, Konstantinos Mitroglou, this crazy guy who ran like 1,000 miles in 11 days,
Damn.
Queen Sophia of Spain, and of course, America's Greek sweetheart,
John Stamos.
John Stamos. Don't even try to get on this list. Okay, friend time.
I'd imagine their friends would be Italy and Spain. I think they have like a phrase, una ragazza, something like that. It's like one face, one race. I've heard that before.
Greece is really old, like, whoa, really old. They've planted so many shifting diplomatic ties throughout the millennia that it's ridiculous. In a nutshell, though, they generally get along pretty well with other Orthodox countries, mostly in Eastern Europe, as theology and doctrine have always tied them in one way or another. Of those Orthodox countries, Serbia is probably hands down the closest childhood friend. Serbians are like the next door neighbor that they grew up with, asking if Greece could come out and play ball. Nonetheless, you don't have to be Orthodox to roll with Greece. Greeks love the Spanish and Italians almost as much. Each country shares a similar Mediterranean seafaring culture that has historically tied them for thousands of years, although each claim that they have the best olive oil. Greeks have even adopted certain Italian words in their vernacular, like una faccia, una razza, one face, one race. And as
Yeah,
mentioned
that's the phrase I've heard before.
before, Armenia is kind of like the exotic apostolic girlfriend they've been dating since like the 3rd century AD.
Oh yeah, Albania is pretty old.
Turkey is kind of like the whole Japan-South Korea thing, in which historically they've had a lot of drama because, you know, Ottoman times, but they love to visit and piggyback off of each other's cultures. Today, there is virtually no tension between everyday citizens. They've moved on, mostly, and sometimes it's even hard to distinguish a Greek person from a Turk just by looking at them. But
Yeah, I mean, they're all the same race pretty much, so.
make sure you do not make the mistake of mislabeling them. That's a huge no-no. When it comes to their best friend, though,
I mean, we're all humans at the end, you know?
almost every geographer Greek told me Cyprus.
Yeah. But another Greek-speaking country, that makes sense.
Many Greeks don't even really see Cyprus as a separate country, but rather just an extension of Greece. They love their little brothers with funny accents and would do anything for them.
I think Cyprus helped out a bit in the financial crisis. But, you know, that didn't really turn out that well.
In conclusion, modern-day Greece may only make up about 132,000 square kilometers, but has been the standard source of inspiration for so much of the Western world. The fact is, today, you can look around and see how much of our modern society has been in some way, shape, or form molded by something Greek. Kudos to you, Greece. And by the way, kudos is a Greek word. Stay tuned.
Damn.
Grenada is coming.
That was epic. Holy crap. Let's check out the Flag Friday Greece.
Geography peeps, welcome back to Flag Friday. Hope you liked the Greece episode. Fun little side
I
note,
loved
Handsome
it.
Luke was actually supposed to be in that episode because he's
Oh.
half Greek, but he was too busy and couldn't make it. That's okay, though. You'll
Damn.
see more of him in the future episodes. In the meantime, we got a flag to dissect. So, without further ado... Alright, Greece, the wonder of the Balkans. Let's see what this flag is up to. Jeez, there's barking dogs in my neighborhood, I swear. The flag is made up of 9 equal horizontal stripes of sky blue alternating with white, and the
I've always thought that the flag was pretty amazing. It's pretty unique for Europe, I think. I mean, the cross isn't that unique, but, you know, just the stripes and cross together. It's pretty cool.
upper left canton
And the blue and white color.
corner lies a blue square with a white cross. Now when it comes to the 9 stripes, there are a number of different interpretations, and none of them are absolutely set in stone or official. However, here are the most popular ones. The 9 stripes stand for the syllables of the phrase Eleftheria y Thanatos, which means freedom or death. Some say the stripes even represent the letters of the word Etheria, or freedom. Others might say that they stand for the 9 muses, the goddesses of the arts and civilization, 9 also traditionally being the number that symbolized Greece, and many might also say that the colors simply represent the sky and sea as well as the clouds and waves, as Greece has had a particularly strong seafaring culture for millennia. The upper blue box with a white cross symbolizes
Makes sense, yeah. Definitely have a strong seafaring culture.
the Eastern Orthodox Church, the established religion of the Greek people in Greece and Cyprus. The flag was created in the 1820s but wasn't officially adopted as the nation's flag until 1969, and prior to that they just used the blue
That is a bit of a boring flag, I must admit. I like the current flag more. Although, it's simple. It's not a bad flag, that flag, but I think the current flag is a bit nicer.
field with a white cross to represent themselves,
unique.
especially after all that drama with the Ottoman Empire. And now the coat of arms. This one is so simple. The coat of arms is just a shield, or escutcheon if you want the proper term. I hate that word, escutcheon. It sounds like a diseased school
Escutcheon?
item. Hey students, get out your escutcheons. The coat of arms is just a shield with a white cross on a blue backdrop surrounded by
Bit of a boring one, I will admit. I do like the leaves, but the symbol could be cooler. I feel like they have a lot more to draw upon, but, you know, they wanted to go with the Christian motif. Bit boring in my opinion, but it's cool.
monochrome white and blue laurel branches on each side. You already know what the cross symbolizes, and the laurel wreaths typically stand for victory and honor. Now keep in mind, I didn't mention this in the Greece episode, but Greece was actually under a few kingdoms prior to becoming a republic, and back then their coat of arms looked pretty crazy, but that's a little irrelevant. Anyway, that being prior to becoming a republic, and back then their
Yeah, that's a lot cooler in my opinion. That is quite a bit cooler. It's more exciting. The current one's a bit boring. This one that looks way more interesting.
coat of arms looked pretty crazy, but that's a little irrelevant. Anyway, that being said, Geograph fan mail time! Okay, this week was weird because I got this weird package sent to me and I have no idea why. The Kimberly-Clark Company decided to send me this box. I already opened it.
That was very fun though. Definitely enjoyed the video. I learned quite a lot about Greece. quite interesting indeed. I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with this video. So if you enjoyed my reaction, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Any Greeks watching, comment down below with your thoughts and such. And anybody else, of course, comment down below with your thoughts as well and recommendations for future videos. Thanks for watching, and yeah, bye bye.